Let's talk about a problem that pretty much every IT pro has nightmares about: app chaos. Your users are juggling dozens of passwords, and every single one is a potential security breach just waiting to happen. Today, we're going to tame that chaos. We're going to build a fortress around your applications using a unified system for access with Microsoft Entra ID.
Okay, so let's just state the obvious. There's an app for everything now, right? And each one wants its own login. For your users, it's more than just annoying. It's password fatigue. And for your security team, it's a massive headache paved with weak passwords, sticky notes, and forgotten credentials. It's a mess.
But what if there was a better way? Well, there is, and it's a beautifully simple concept called single sign-on, or SSO. The whole idea is to give each user one single, super secure identity. You can think of it like a master key. They use it once to unlock the main door, and then they have access to all the approved applications they need. Simple as that. So how exactly does this digital master key work? What's the magic that happens behind the scenes that lets one login work for Salesforce and Workday and everything else? Well, it all comes down to something called a token.
A token is basically a digital passport. When your user signs in that first time, Microsoft Entra ID checks them out, makes sure they are who they say they are, and then issues this temporary secure token. Their device then shows this passport to every other app. The app sees the stamp of approval from a source it trusts, and boom, it lets them in. No password required.
Now, here's where it gets really clever. You don't want to log in over and over again, but you also don't want a token that lives forever, because that's not secure. The solution is what you're seeing here. You get a short-lived access token that expires quickly, but you also get a long-lived refresh token. This refresh token works quietly in the background, creating this sliding window where it just keeps renewing your access securely. It's the perfect balance between convenience and security.
Of course, for all this to work, these different systems need to speak the same language. That's where protocols come in. This table breaks down the three big ones you'll run into. You've got SAML, which is kind of the old reliable standard for web apps. Then there's OpenID Connect, or OIDC, which is the modern version built for the cloud and mobile. And then there's OAuth 2.0, which is a little different. Its main job isn't to figure out who you are, but what you're allowed to do. Okay, so our users can sign in easily and securely. The front door is officially locked down. But that's really only half the story, isn't it? Once a user is inside an app, what can they actually do? This brings us to the super important topic of app permissions and user consent. And here's the bottom line. Just because an app is connected to your system doesn't mean it gets a free-for-all with your data. No way. Access has to be granted explicitly. That's why the first time a user opens a new app, they get that pop-up asking for permission to do things like view your profile or read your calendar. Now, if you're an admin, you've got a tough choice. On one hand, you could lock everything down and force your IT team to approve every single app request. That's super secure, but it creates a huge bottleneck. Or you could just let users consent to whatever they want. That's super convenient for them, but you're basically opening the floodgates to potential security risks. So what's the right move? Well, the recommended approach is to find that happy medium. You can set up a policy that lets users consent on their own, but only if the application comes from a verified publisher. That means the app developer has already gone through a verification process with Microsoft, which adds a really critical layer of trust.
And on top of that, there's this really intelligent safety net called risk-based step-up consent. Think of it like an AI security guard. If Entra ID sees a request that just feels a little off, maybe a brand new app is asking for way too many permissions, it'll automatically flag it and force an admin to take a look, even if your policy would have otherwise allowed it.
Okay, so this all works great for all the new, shiny, cloud-native apps, but let's be real. What about those super critical legacy applications that are still chugging away on a server in your data center? How do we bring them into this modern identity world? This is a huge, real-world challenge. I mean, you can't just flip a switch and get rid of these apps overnight, but you also can't just leave them isolated, relying on old, clunky authentication methods like a VPN. So how do you bridge that gap?
Well, the solution is this really elegant feature called the Application Proxy. Don't think of it as just a doorway. It's more like a highly trained security bouncer for your internal apps. As you can see from the diagram, you install a little agent inside your network that creates a secure outbound-only tunnel to the cloud. It stands at the door, checks everyone's digital ID against Entra, and only lets the authorized people through.
Let's just walk through it real quick. Step 1, your user signs into Entra ID like normal. 2, Entra gives them that secure token we talked about. 3, the token gets passed to the proxy service in the cloud. 4, that request zips down the secure tunnel to your on-prem connector. And finally, 5 and 6, the connector shows the request to your internal app, gets the response, and sends it all the way back to the user. It's SSO for apps that were never, ever designed for it.
All right, we're almost there. We've unified all our logins, we've locked down permissions, we've even brought our old legacy apps into the fold. There's just one final massive piece of this puzzle left to solve: actually creating and managing the user accounts inside all of these different applications. This is where the real magic happens, with something called app provisioning, and it is all about automation. Look at this diagram. When a new hire gets added to your HR system, Entra ID can see that change, and then automatically create their accounts in Salesforce, in ServiceNow, in whatever apps they need to do their job from day one. So why is this such a game changer? Yeah, it saves a ton of time, for sure. But the real win here is security. When someone leaves the company, their access to everything is cut off, instantly and automatically. No more lingering orphaned accounts, no more security holes. It's clean, it's fast, and it's secure. The secret sauce behind all this automation is an open standard called SCIM. The easiest way to think about SCIM is as a universal translator for user accounts. It gives all these different apps a common language to speak, which means any app that supports SCIM can just plug right into Entra's provisioning system. No custom coding needed. And there you have it. We've gone from total app chaos to a single, secure, and automated system for access. It is a massive leap forward, but it also creates a new challenge. You've built this incredible central hub for identity, but how will you monitor it? Every login, every permission grant now tells a story. And the real question is, are you listening?